morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar. My name is Amanda Newport. I'm the Executive Officer for the Advanced Textiles Association New Zealand, and I'll be moderating today's webinar, Get Your Business Found on Social Media, presented by Jodine McIntyre from Social Smarty. Before we get started, here are just a few housekeeping notes. During today's webinar, you will have the opportunity to submit questions or comments to Jodine by typing them into the questions box of the control panel. You may send in your questions at any time during the presentation, and we will address them during the presentation and also at the end. Today's webinar will be recorded and sent out in an email from GoToWebinar. Now, a little bit about Jodine. Jodine was a past presenter at an ATA New Zealand conference where she shared some fantastic insights on social media and marketing. Since then, she's been working with businesses across the trades, including Master Builders Association, helping tradies build stronger brands and attract more customers online. When I saw that Jodine had recently released her Tradies Social Media Playbook, I knew it was something our members could really benefit from. So I reached out to see if she'd be willing to share some of those practical tips with our industry, and we're delighted she said yes. Today, Jodine is going to show us how to build greater visibility online, create content that connects with customers, and most importantly, turn followers into genuine inquiries. Whether you're just getting started with social media or looking to improve what you're already doing, I'm sure you'll come away with practical ideas you can put into action straight away. So on behalf of the Advanced Textiles Association, the Specialized Textiles Association, Master Builders New Zealand, and the Advanced Textiles Association New Zealand, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Jodine. Thank you for joining us today, Jodine, and we're looking forward to learning from you.
Thank you for having me. That's quite the welcome. So what we're going to do before we dive into it is, because this feels weird to me, it feels like there's no one out there. So if you can, let me know in the chat box where you are joining from today. I hear that we have lots of people joining from the other side of the world to where I am. I'm sitting on a little farm here in New Zealand. So let me know in the chat so that I can see there's actually people out there where it is that you're joining from today as we jump into this webinar. So I'll keep an eye on the chat and we are going to dive on in. So first up, who the heck am I? So I am Jodine, and I have a company called Social Smarty. So I have been teaching social media for just over 7 years now. And my big thing is about teaching you how to do social media well without it taking over your life. So you don't need to become a full-time content creator. You have a business to run. We need to make social media manageable so that you can use it effectively, but also get on with running your business. I have actually been using social media as a marketing tool since 2009, which is a long, long time ago now. It doesn't feel like it. To me, 2009 feels like just a few years ago, but it's been a lot longer than that. I have a podcast called The Social Smarty Show. If you want to go and check that out. And I have literally worked with thousands of business owners and professionals at this point. So as we go, what I would love is for you to ask me any questions. I quite like to answer questions in the flow. So if you pop your questions into the chat box, into the question box, then I can answer them as we go. There will also be some time at the end for any curlier questions that need a little bit more time to answer them. Okay, so what are we covering off today? So first up, we're going to have a quick chat about how social media has changed. It's really important to understand the landscape of social media so that we can use it effectively. Then we're going to talk about how to help locals or local customers find you. Then we're going to cover off how to look professional without making content your full-time job. As I said, I'm not about turning you into a content creator or an influencer or anything like that. Then we're going to talk about best practice to turn that attention you're getting on social media into inquiries, and then be a chance to answer any questions at the end. So the first thing I want to get really, really clear on is that social media literally has one job. That is to help the right people find you, trust you, and contact you. So make inquiries or go to your website or do that thing that you want them to do. So sometimes we can get a little bit jaded with social media. So we put out a post and we spend lots and lots of time on it. We take beautiful photos, or maybe we use something like Canva to design something really great. And we put it out there and we think, oh, no one has commented. barely anyone has liked it, it can't have done its job. But that's when we fall into the trap of getting confused about the purpose of social media. So social media for a business, so for people like us, we're not necessarily getting on there to build a community and get all these lovely comments and all these likes. And those things are really nice and they make us feel good, but they don't always translate into business. And I know lots of people online which you would look at and think, wow, they've got so many followers and they always get so many comments. But I know the story behind the business, and it's not necessarily translating into money in the bank. So what we need to look at is actually what is the job of social media, and is literally to get people to do the thing that you want them to do. So that's book your services, buy your products, go to your website, fill in the inquiry forms, click on the button that says call now and get on the phone with you. That is the job of social media. Okay, so let's have a quick look about how social media has changed. So it has changed dramatically. If you can remember the good old days of social media, where we would jump on Facebook and we'd have a bit of a scroll and we would see content or posts from our friends, our family, and then from the businesses and maybe celebrities that we had chosen to follow. Everything was in chronological order. So if our auntie had just posted a photo of what she had for dinner, and she'd only posted it, 30 seconds ago, that would be right up at the top of our feed. And we curated that feed. So we decided what it is that we wanted to see by following businesses and by connecting with people and really deciding what we wanted to see in that feed. And then people like me, marketers, we came along and we figured out how to game that system. Because if you think about it, if the most recent thing in your post, in your feed is the most recent post, then all we needed to do was post more frequently. So businesses started to post every hour. So they knew if people were following their page, their post would be at the top of their feed. And sometimes they would just repeat the same content. And it got very, very boring. And so the social media platforms needed to shake things up. They needed to change this. So what we're seeing now is actually content that is recommended to us. So we're not necessarily just seeing the content in our feed from the people we have opted in to see from. So by following or connecting with people, we're actually getting all of this recommended content that is popping up in our feed. And the other thing is that it's no longer in chronological order. So instead it is based on relevance. So when I open up Instagram, when I open up Facebook, the thing at the very top of the feed is what the platform determines is most relevant to me. And so as a business, if we flip this around, we've tried so hard for so long to build up followers and build up this audience. But what happens when we post is our content is not necessarily going out to those followers. And if it does, often it is a really, really small portion of those followers. So two things can be true. So number one is that follower count isn't so important anymore, because even if we create a really great piece of content, that can actually go out to people outside of our audience, which is a good thing. But on the flip side, it does get quite frustrating, because if we are creating content and our followers aren't seeing it, that can be really, really disheartening when we are using social media. So how the heck do we actually earn some eyeballs on our content? How do we create content in a way that actually gets seen by the right people? So we need to understand what the platforms want. So when we think about Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the platforms, the first thing they want is something that grabs attention. That is the number one metric, or the number one way that the platforms determine which piece of content gets pushed out. If you imagine someone's got their phone and their thumb's going flat out, scroll, scroll, scroll through their feed, the minute they stop on something, it grabs their attention. That is a signal. That's a signal to the platform that people are interested in this piece of content. This is good content, and let's push it out further. So we need to grab attention. So over on Instagram and Facebook, we talk about skip rate. So we want a really low skip rate. We want a small percentage of people to skip past that. Over on LinkedIn, it's called dwell time, which I quite like. The minute someone dwells on your post, that's that trigger, that's that signal to the algorithm that people are interested in this. So number one, we need to grab attention straight away. Number two, we need to hold that attention. So if we can keep people watching that video or reading that caption or doing that thing we want them to do, that's also a really good signal. And then there's another one that is really important as well, is that what do people actually do with it? So I've just noticed a spelling mistake there in my slide. But basically, if we can get that piece of content shared, so if they flick it onto a friend, or they, pass it on to their partner, or they see something and they think, oh, I want to buy this, and they flick it onto someone else, or maybe they share it to their own network, that is also a massive trigger to the platform that this is really good content. They might save it to come back to it later on. They might react to it or comment on it. All of those things are really important as well. And the longer someone sticks around on your piece of content, the more your content gets shown. And that's why you might have noticed a trend of having really short videos. So reels often are sort of 7 seconds long. And that's because it's very easy, or it's easier to get people all the way through that 7 seconds. If we have a 1 minute or 90-second long video, it's very hard. We've got to hold their attention, and you imagine how short our attention spans are these days. You've got to hold people's attention all the way through that video. So that's why shorter often works better when we're creating that type of content. Okay, so what does this mean for you as a business? Well, number one, we are no longer just competing with other businesses in our trade. We're actually up against everything else that's in the feed. And that includes the people who are actually content creators. That includes the people who are getting paid to keep people on the platform. We've got a harder job because we're actually trying to send people off the platform. We want them to come to our website, or we want them to come into our shop or into our business, or whatever that next step is. Whereas, those content creators, all they need to do is keep people on the platform. So that does make it a little bit trickier. But as we know, the more people who stop, the more people who engage with our content, then the more people will actually see that piece of content. So the further that content gets pushed out. And one thing that you might have over those content creators is that you have a local advantage. So if you service people in a specific area, a specific town, a specific region, if you can weave that into your content, then that is actually something that can get locals' attention. When you're scrolling and you see something, you think, oh, that's where I live, or oh, that's the church down the road, or oh, I know exactly where that is. That is a great way to get people's attention, to get them to stop. Remember, that's our first goal, is to get them to stop, to dwell on that post. And then that can be a really good advantage. So think about how you can weave in, some of that sort of local hotspots into your content. Okay, now it's not just about scrolling though. So we also need to be searchable. So people are actually using social media platforms as a search engine. And what I mean by that is, instead of going to Google, like we're all used to, they're actually opening up Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and they're actually searching for what it is that they're looking for. So we need to make sure that your business is searchable too. So if someone is searching, then they can find you. Now, one thing that a lot of businesses get wrong is they set their profiles up for the people who know their name. So if I already know your business name, you're going to be easy to find. We're going to type in that business name if I'm searching for you, and I'm going to find you. But that's not typically, well, it could be what some people are doing if they already know you. But think about all of those people that need your services, need your products, that don't know the name of your business. What we need to do is make sure that we're searchable for them as well. So these are the sort of things people might be typing into a search engine search bar. So they might be looking for, if you're a builder, they might be looking for a bathroom renovation in Palmerston North. So we always put that little location on the end there. People don't typically search for services without a location, because obviously they want the stuff that's relevant for them. They might be searching for a particular product that you sell. It may be even a brand that you stock. Or they might be looking for the thing that they actually want, like a service. And remember, they're not going to use the same words as you. So often when we work in our businesses, we know all the technical terms, or we have the correct terminology. They might not know the correct terminology. So thinking about what words our target audience would actually be typing in, that's really important. Then, of course, they're going to be looking for those local businesses. They want to check you out. They want to see that you are legit, that they can trust you. They want to see real projects, real jobs, real results, and whether or not you are the right fit for them. Okay, and if you are not there, if they can't find you, I can almost guarantee they will find your competitors, they will find someone else, and they will contact that business. So we need to make sure that you are findable. So what actually gets you found? So there's 4 really key pieces of information we need to know. Number 1 is your account or your page name. So when you set up, when you set up your profile, you need to make sure that you're not just relying on that business name. We want to add a little bit of context, and that could be location, and it could be the services or products that you provide. So that's your account name. The next one is your location. This is really, really important, because when we're searching for things online, obviously the platforms are clever enough to know to recommend local. So if I'm searching, for example, it's not going to show me businesses in New York, because they're not local to me. It doesn't make any sense. So we need to make sure you have your location in there. So on your Facebook account, you're going to scroll down into your About section and make sure you've got the right location there. Same thing on Instagram. You're going to edit your profile and you're going to check in your contact details if you have your location in there. Then, of course, when we're writing our captions, we need to think about adding in keywords in there. We need to think about, even if no one else reads the caption, even if we create this epic video and we know everyone's going to read the video, they're not actually going to read the caption. The platform is reading the caption. The platform is reading that caption to understand what is this video about and who is it relevant to. So we still need to write, captions that have keywords that to kind of describe what it is that they're seeing in the video and what we do and where we do it. So location as well. And then when we create videos, even if it's just us speaking to camera, when we have the subtitles on that video, that's another reason or another way that the platform can understand what the video is about. So think about the words that we are speaking. Are we including our location, the name of the services or the products that we provide? Are we including those searchable keywords when we are creating those videos? So I did a really quick search. I searched for outdoor blinds, Hawke's Bay. So Hawke's Bay is the region that I live in, and I might be in the market for some outdoor blinds. And what I can see there, I'm going to zoom in a wee bit, is there's 3 businesses that popped up there. And so I've got 3 options. I'm going to click on one of those and I'm going to go through and have a look at their content, see if other people have commented on their videos. I'll see if they've got reviews. Are they trustworthy? Is there examples of their work? I'm going to sort of do my research based on these 3 results that pops up, right? But what determines that order? So if we go back a bit, we've got Hawke's Bay Trim and Canvas, we've got Hawke's Bay Blinds and Awnings, and then lastly, we've got Douglas Outdoor and Textile Innovation, right? So those 3 popped up. So the thing that determines the order that those 3 pages popped up, is number 1, how closely Facebook thinks that page relates to my search term. So when I searched for outdoor blinds, Facebook is looking at all the pages that come up and it's trying to figure out which one is the most closely related to that. So it's looking at things like the posts that they've created, the language that they've used in those posts. When they write their captions, are they actually talking about outdoor blinds? And then the other thing is obviously the location and the distance from the person searching. So that's why it's really important to make sure you have your location in your profiles. Because if you notice, like all 3 of those are in my area. It's not recommending like some amazing store in New York. It's actually recommending something local to me. So that's really important. The next thing is how established and trustworthy the page appears to be. So it's looking at things like follower count, which is, we don't want a brand new account with only 4 followers, least likely to recommend that, but it's also looking at reviews. If we go back a step, we can see that actually the first one that is being recommended there has got, I was going to say how many reviews. It doesn't actually tell me how many reviews it's got. It says 96% recommended. The second one down only has 1 review, and then the third one down has 4 reviews. So I suspect that first one there, I should have checked that before I jumped on, has a lot more reviews than the other 2 pages. Okay, so it's also looking at how often the page gives Facebook evidence of that service. So what I mean by that is how frequently are they posting. So if that page hasn't posted any content in a year, again, Facebook is not necessarily going to push that up the list to recommend to me. And of course, we have personalization. So it's looking for connection. So if one of my friends that I'm connected with follows that page, it's more likely to put that up in my search results, because if my friend follows it, that's showing a connection, right? So it's going to put that up higher. It also looks at the pages I have interacted with. If I'm actually following a page, of course, that's going to pop up at the top of the list, because it's like, okay, you're already following these guys. This is probably who you're looking for. So that can be, a way to move up that list there. So we need to think about all of these things with our content and with our pages. And the other cool thing is that our social media pages also feed into Google. So if we have customers who are a little bit more, I was going to say old school, I don't know, I feel like Google is old school these days. I don't often search Google anymore, but I know that some of maybe the older generation do, and that's really important. So if they're searching good old Google, we know that our Facebook pages and Instagram accounts can pop up in those search results as well, as long as we're doing all of the things I talked about earlier. So we're using the keywords in our posts, we've got the keywords in our account names, we've got our location in there, so that Facebook or Google, knows to pull through the right pages based on where I am located. So that's when we get pages like that popping up in our Google results. And of course, we have AI. So AI is now a big part of the way that we operate online. So we might even jump over to ChatGPT or Claude and ask for recommendations. Or when we're searching on Google, we have this nice little AI overview. So it's almost like, don't worry about scrolling and looking at all of these pages. I'm just going to summarize it all for you and pop it up here in that summary. So there I've done a search for best outdoor blind recommendations in Napier. And so what's popped up there in the AI overview is actually a company called Hawke's Bay Blinds and Awnings. That's what the AI summary is recommending as the number one sort of option in my area. And what we can actually see there is we have a little source link. So all the way through that AI summary, you'll get a little link there that has a source. And when we click on it, we can actually see that it's pulling through from Facebook and Instagram. So it's not just humans, but also AI is also looking at social media to understand who it should be recommending. So I guess that's just another way for me to strengthen my argument that you need to be doing social media and you need to be doing it well. So quick ways to get found. Number one, you're going to update your page or your account name to include what you do and where you do it. That is going to help you move up in those search results. When we write our captions, we're going to use really clear words. So we're not going to use technical jargon. We're going to use the words that our target audience will be using. We're going to include things like our location. And even when we create those epic videos, we're still going to write a caption to go along with them. And as I said there, I feel like I've said it a few times now, think about what would my ideal customer or client type into a search bar. Those are the words that I want you to include in your caption so that we can connect the dots there. Okay, so your 5-second profile check. Number one, let's take a step back. If I land on your profile, these are the things that I want to be able to tell in a quick few seconds. What do you do? Where do you do it? Are you relevant to me? What kind of jobs do you take on? Do you only help with commercial jobs, residential? Can I get a really clear gauge on that? And how the heck do I contact you? It's amazing how many businesses will say something like, get in touch if you need us, or reach out if you want some help. How? Do you have a phone number? Where are you located? Do you have a physical store? Is everything online? Do you have to buy online? Do I have to come in store to buy? Make sure that's really clear. And then, of course, are you active and do you look legitimate? Basically, have you posted in the last month? And do you look like you're still in business? That's really important. A good profile should answer, can you help me and how do I get in touch? Those are the key things that we should be able to answer. Okay, next up, how to look professional. What does professional actually mean? So I think there's this kind of disconnect between like old school marketing and making everything look very professional, like a brochure, and putting our logos on everything versus social media professional. So when we create content for social media, it's not going to look like a traditional sort of advertisement. We're not going to have loads and loads of text and logos and that sort of thing. That's just not what people want to see on social media. So instead, we just need to make sure that we're creating content that makes our work look good, and obviously tells people how they can get in touch with you. And that's literally it. Good photos, good videos. And what I mean by good is clear. People can actually see evidence of your work. That is enough. We aren't going to be going and doing graphic design courses and trying to create these epic online flyers. That's just not what social media is about. There is absolutely places for that. And if you're going to, update your own website and do your newsletters and things like that, that's a really good place for that style of marketing. Social media is not about that. And in fact, when we see a lot of text in a post, often we scroll on by because straight away we know it's marketing, it's advertising. And I feel like our brains are starting to become wired to almost scroll by anything that looks too promotional or too, advertising. And so if we can blur the lines a little bit with some really great photos and videos, then that can really help us with that reach. Now, the thing is, you are already doing the content. So every project you work on can become a post. Every job site you work on can become a story. Every question that a customer asks you, we can turn that into a social media post. So rather than thinking about content as something we have to create, it's more about something we need to document. So we need to almost document the work that we're already doing and turn that into content. We don't need to do things on top of what we're already doing. We just need to document it. Take those photos, take those videos, tell those stories, answer those questions on social media. Make it really easy on yourself. So think about every single job you do, you're going to take 2 or 3 photos, right? And you might already be doing this. This might be a way that you are documenting so that you can show the customers if there's any issues. This literally could be something you're already doing. Create a folder on your phone, chuck them all in there so that when you sit down to create your social media content, you've already got some things that you can talk about. The other thing you can do is batch your posts. So if you aim to post, say, twice a week, you can actually sit down and then create those posts and schedule them. So one's going to go out tomorrow morning, the next one will go out Thursday morning, and that's your week done. But done and posted always beats perfect. So if you are waiting to get the perfect photo, or you took a photo and you think it's not quite right, I'll try and get back to that job site, or I'll try and get back and take another photo, your chances are you'll get busy and you won't get it done. So just think about, let's actually get that content out there rather than trying to perfect it before we post it. And the good news is your phone is enough. That's all you need. You don't need fancy equipment. You don't need to go out and buy all these fancy cameras. Your phone is absolutely good enough. All we need to think about is good light. So make sure that your light source is behind you when you're taking the photos or the videos, and ideally natural light. Natural light always wins. So think about a big window or a door or even getting outside and getting that photo or video. Make sure that the focus is clear. Most camera phones do that automatically. You don't even have to think about the focus. Think about the frame. Is it tidy? We don't have lots of distracting sort of bits in the background. And think about having a clear point. If you're showing off your work, think about actually it was this part of the job that we actually did. So let's zoom in on that, or let's focus on that. Or if it's a video, think about one clear point. Don't think about trying to communicate everything that it is that you do. Think actually we'll focus on this one clear point. Make it really easy. Remember those short attention spans? We need to get to the point. Okay, so before you take a photo or record a video, this is such a habit, but the lens on the back of the camera, give it a wipe. I can almost guarantee it's got some sort of gunk on it. Your kids have been touching it. You've accidentally, put a fingerprint on it. Give it a little bit of a wipe. Think about the shot. Is there, a rubbish bin there, or is there something in the background I need to move? Get close enough. I'm not a big fan of zooming in on my camera. I would rather take a step forward because then we get that same clarity. We're not losing any of the clarity of the photo by zooming in. Take a few. Take 4 or 5 different photos or different videos so that you've got some options to work with. And as I said earlier, always use natural light where you can. It just looks so much nicer. Okay, simple video that works. You literally only need 10 to 15 seconds. Remember what I said earlier about getting people to the end of your video is ideal? The shorter the video is, the easier it is to get people to the end of that video. So really, really nice and short. Hold your phone still. Use a tripod if you need it. Lean it up against something. Or the other thing I do is I lock my arms in like wings. The minute I lock my arms in, I've got a nice sort of steady almost tripod with my body. If my arms are out here, I'm sort of flapping around and there's a lot more wobble. Lock your arms in if you want to, and always hold your phone this way. When we're posting for social media, we want vertical video that fills up the screen. So don't stress too much about like editing and over editing it or anything like that. Just get a nice little bit of video there. And then lastly, how do we turn that attention, those views that we're getting on social media, into actual inquiries and jobs? So how do people check you out? So if we go back to like word of mouth, for example, a friend might recommend you, right? So someone says, oh, this is this great company that I have worked with. Or maybe they are searching, like I did earlier, they're searching for a particular service in an area. So the first thing they often do is they check out your Facebook page, Instagram. They want to scroll through your recent posts. They want to see, are they active? Do they look like they're still in business? And are they trustworthy? They want to see evidence of your work. They even want to see the people behind the business. You know, there's so many scam businesses out there that when you scroll through the social media, there's not a single person that pops up in their profiles. So we want to actually see some people in there. That helps people trust you and trust your business. Then, of course, they want to see your content often a few times. So they don't always make a decision to reach out straight away. Maybe they'll give you a follow. Maybe they will see you pop up a couple of times in their feed. So having that consistency can help us get those inquiries. And then when we post, we want to tell people what it is that they need to do next. So in the marketing world, we call this a call to action or a CTA. And if we don't include that, then it's almost like a dead end. We need to tell people what to do next. Do they need to direct message you? Do you have a website they can visit? Do you do free quotes? Do they need to call you to organize the quote? Do you have a physical store? Do they need to come in and see you at your address? So keep it simple and keep it specific. So tell them what it is that you want them to do next. And it sounds obvious. You know, you think if they really want to work with us, they'll figure it out. And yes, lots of people will figure it out, but there will be some people that just by adding that call to action actually turns that post into a piece of content that drives those inquiries. It can be such a simple little addition to your post. And then, of course, we need to actually make it easy to get in touch. So on your Facebook page, you have something called an action button. The annoying thing is that as you're an admin on your page, you can't actually see the action button. And so often we don't even know what it says because we just see the admin view. So grab your partner, your friend, grab their phone, get them to log into Facebook and just say, hey, can you have a look at our page and see what it actually looks like? And it might surprise you. Facebook went through this process when they purchased WhatsApp of trying to encourage businesses to use their WhatsApp as the actual call to action button. So if WhatsApp makes sense for you, if your customers contact you that way, then that's absolutely fine. Here in New Zealand, WhatsApp is not really a big platform for contacting businesses. So it's more of a personal sort of platform. And so I wouldn't recommend here in New Zealand that we use WhatsApp. We might use our phone number, we might use an email address, or we might actually send people through to our website. So we put our website address as that action button there. You can also turn on auto replies for Facebook and Instagram so that when people do send an inquiry through to your page, they can get an instant response. Even when you're flat out working, then it can, give them some expectations around when you might be in touch, or it might even recommend that they, phone you or email you because that's the way that you prefer to be contacted. Reply to messages and comments when you can. So make sure you've got that as part of your workflow. And go on, as I said, have a look at your page and think, could someone actually contact us really easily? Like, is it obvious how to get in touch with us? Cool. And there we have it. I'm just going to check if there's any comments or questions that have come through. Can't see anything. Okay, so what we covered today. Number one, social media has changed. Views are earned, not guaranteed. Even if you have hundreds of thousands of followers, it is not guaranteed that you're going to reach people with that content anymore. Number two, we need to be findable. So we need to think about your page name, your caption, your keywords, and how people find you. When we create our content, we want to look professional, but we don't want to sort of overcook it. We want to make sure that our content has good lighting, it's tidy, and it has a clear point, but we don't need to go overboard with editing or creating fancy things. And then lastly, how do we turn those views into inquiries? We need to tell people what it is that they need to do to get in touch and make it super, super easy for them to do that. Okay, so if you want to go deeper on any of the information that I have shared today, then I have put together a playbook. So it is everything that I recommend you do for social media marketing for your business. So it talks about what to post each week. I've got a simple rotation in there that you can follow, like a framework that's really easy to follow. I might give you all sorts of caption formulas so that when you're writing your captions, you can see how best to structure them. I've got a bit of a routine there. So if you've only got 30 or 60 minutes a week to work on your social media, I've got all of that routine in there broken down for you. And I talk more about how to turn posts into actual inquiries. So there's 3 versions of the book. There's one for the US, there's one for New Zealand, and one for Australia. That's the link there. I wonder if I can share the link with you. I wonder, can I pop it in the chat? Let's have a quick look.
You should be able to, Jodine.
Cool. Doesn't let me.
Try now.
Oh, okay. No, it just says that it is hidden while screen sharing. That's okay. I'm sure we can flick that link out. If you have your phone on you, you can always scan that QR code. That'll take you directly to the page. Otherwise, it's socialsmarty.co/shop-playbook, and that will take you through to all 3 different options there so that you can get which one is relevant for you. But, oh, thank you. Cool. There's the link.
Yeah. Awesome. It came to me and I just needed to share it.
Cool. Okay, so we have some time now for questions. Have you had anything that's come through, popped up?
Well, I had a question myself. So when you're talking about putting the captions in, are you just saying like that's part of the post that you're making? Is that where the captions
That's the
go?
written part. So every post has a visual, which will either be 1 or more photos or a video. And then, of course, we have the caption, the written part that goes with it. So when we are writing that caption, sometimes we put all of the effort into the video itself or into the photos, and we kind of think, well, that'll do the talking for us. And we forget that we actually need to include that caption, because even if people aren't reading it, then the platform is looking for clues. So it's looking for things like, what is this post about? Because the platforms are not quite clever enough yet to understand what a video is all about. They're getting better, and there are certain things that will automatically flag and will get that video removed. And sometimes it gets it wrong, and you get notifications to say your video has been removed for certain reasons, and you think, gosh, there was nothing like that in the video. But we need to let the platforms know. So we include keywords like the services, the products, your location, that sort of thing in that caption. And that's what hashtags used to do. So back in the day with hashtags is we used to just sort of write a very short caption, and then instead of including the keywords actually in the sentences and writing it, as someone would read it, we just used to bung on a whole lot of hashtags at the end. I used to put 30 hashtags on my posts, and I would think about all the different ways that, this content could be categorized, or all the different topics that I could add to this post. And then the platforms came out and said, if you keep doing that, we are going to treat your posts as spam, and we're going to reduce the reach on those posts. So they basically told us we shouldn't be stuffing all of those hashtags in there, and instead we should be trying to write natural, what I would call natural language captions. So, if you've put for example, I don't know, if you're a builder and you're talking about a renovation and you've put the word renovation in that post, we wouldn't then put hashtag renovation on the end. The two sort of do the same thing. So we don't need to worry so much about hashtags, but thinking about how we can write really descriptive captions.
Fantastic. And same for the reels. Where you would put some text on the reels, is that right? And then
so that can help as well. So any text we put on the reels, like when we're creating them in the platform, can obviously be read by the platform. The other thing text on the screen can do is it can help with that with reducing that skip rate or increasing that dwell time, as I talked about. So sometimes we can have something that pops up on the screen, like if it's me talking to camera, I'll often put a little bit of text above my head, and it might be something like almost summarizing what I'm going to be talking about. And then that way people don't have to wait for me to get to the point, they can actually go, oh, I'm actually interested in this topic. And so they stop on it. And then that tells the platform that people are interested, and it helps push it out to more people, and it can keep their attention. So, sometimes when we're scrolling and we're not quite sure what the point of a video is, we just scroll on by because, we don't have the time or the interest in trying to figure out what this person's talking about. So that on-screen text can be really helpful.
Fantastic. Now, Jamie has just asked if the slides or handout will be shared after the webinar. I know we're doing a recording of this, and that will definitely be shared. Will you be able to share the slides? Is that like if we put that into a PDF?
Yep, sure. I guess I'll leave that with you to pass on. I don't have anyone's contact details, but I can forward the slides to you and you can share those on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? It's very, very informative. I love the idea of the taking photos. Is all the members of STA, ATA, and ATA in New Zealand, they all have their own awards every year, and it's really great being able to take those photos to use them for multiple things, right? So you've got the photos for social media, and if you're putting them into a little file folder, then it's good to be able to go back and go, yes, I'd like to enter that into an award this year, and hopefully there's been a post about it, so you can grab some details, and that helps you remember what you're wanting to enter. So it's two birds, one stone, I suppose.
Yeah, very cool.
Fantastic. Okay, well, there might be, let's see, there might be a couple more. Hang on. Thank you for organizing. Should we be using many different social media platforms when having technical B2B products, or is LinkedIn fine? Just LinkedIn fine?
Yeah, it kind of depends. Like, I know we say LinkedIn is the home of B2B marketing, like social media marketing, but it kind of depends on who your target audience is. And so if they are active on LinkedIn, then I absolutely would be using it, but I wouldn't necessarily neglect maybe Facebook as well. And the reason being is that with LinkedIn is that even though it's a great place to connect with other business owners and decision makers, people aren't on there as frequently. So we might check into LinkedIn, once a week or when we get a notification. And so we're typically not as active on the platform. So that's why also having something like Facebook as well, where people are like, here in New Zealand, on average, Kiwis check in Facebook 8 times a day, and I'm sure I'm more like 80 times a day. And so we can make sure that we get some reach there as well. So there are some really great platforms out there that allow you to create one post and push it out to multiple platforms. So the one that I use is called Publer, Publer. A free account will let you connect up. So for example, you could do LinkedIn, you could do Facebook, and you could also do your Google business listing. And so you could create one post and you could push it out to all 3 of those different platforms. And the really cool thing is that when you create that one post, you upload your photo or your video, you write your caption, there's a little button that you push and you click on it, and it splits it out into 3 different versions. So you have your Facebook version, your LinkedIn version, and your Google business version. And then you can just tweak them. So they don't have to be identical. If maybe on LinkedIn you want to use a bit more sort of professional language, and on Facebook maybe you want to make it a little bit more approachable, then you can actually just tweak those posts and then either push them all out at once, or you can schedule them to go out at whatever time and day you want them to go out at. So Publer's great. As I said, it's free for 3 accounts. If you start to, if you want to add on more, then you'll need to pay, and it's still one of the more cost-effective platforms out there. So that's how I would approach that. But yeah, coming back to your question, I think LinkedIn is, as a generalization, a really good place for that B2B connection.
And the last question, do you think it's necessary for a business to use dedicated video editing software, or are in-app tools enough?
In-app tools are totally enough. And actually, the tool that I have been using a lot is called Edits. So it is the video editing tool from Meta. So, the same company that owns Facebook and Instagram. And that tool is really good if you do want to take things to the next level. It's got some really cool AI features as well. So say, for example, I recorded a video of me talking to camera, and I sort of talked and then I thought about what I was going to say, took a pause, and then I talked some more, and then I took another pause, and then I talked some more, is once I upload that into edits, there's literally one button that says cut silences. You click on it and it edits out everywhere where you've sort of paused to think about what you're going to say next. So there's some really great, AI tools built into edits, and it's free, which I love, and it's much easier to use than something like CapCut or any of those, that have a little bit more of a steeper learning curve. So if you want to check something out, then try edits. But I think actually in app, like if you're actually editing in the app, it should have everything that you need in there.
Awesome. Right. Well, thank you so much, Jodine, for presenting today's webinar. If you would like to talk more about this topic and are part of the ATA or ATA New Zealand, you can visit connect.textiles.org to continue the conversation. So it's our Connect platform. You can also post questions there for our speakers if you didn't get a chance to ask today. So we are continuing to add webinars to our calendar, so make sure you check out all the upcoming webinars and events by visiting textiles.org/events. And at the end, when this all closes out, there will be a brief survey, and we'd love it if you would just take a few moments to complete this. Jodine, do you have any last closing words for us?
I don't think so. I think that's everything. I would highly recommend checking out those playbooks. I put a heck of a lot of time into creating them, and just making sure that we've got that balance between doing social media well, but also not letting it take over your life when you've got all the hats to wear in your business and you're flat out with everything else. So I think, yeah, just check out the playbooks.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for attending, and thank you so much, Jodine, for giving this wonderful presentation.
Thank you for having me.